On today's show, concerns surrounding Aliaksei Protas and Logan Thompson's future, and it's back to work for the Capitals as they prepare to take on the Hurricanes.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, I want to thank you for making this your first listen of the day. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about the season of Alex Ovechkin and the turnaround season that he has had. You take a look at him last year, getting off to a slow start, knocking it out of the park this season, catching and passing Wayne Gretzky. But Alex Ovechkin continues to dominate. What award is he nominated for coming up here? I'll talk about that a bit later. It is back to business for the Capitals. Listen, they've taken the victory lap. Alex Ovechkin has caught and passed Wayne Gretzky and all of that, but we can't forget about what this is all about now. And it's about the Capitals winning games as they prepare for the playoffs. I'll talk about that. But just to get it going here, we're talking about concern surrounding Aliaksei Protas and Logan Thompson. This is not an ideal time for these injuries, and the outlook for him is a bit up in the air. I'll talk about that. Spencer Carbery, when questioned about the return of Aliaksei and Logan, when would they be back? There's not a real definitive answer. And like I say, not an ideal time. There's never a good time. Don't get me wrong here. But if you take a look at the numbers that these two players have put up, of course, we know what Logan Thompson has meant to this team. He got his new contract. He will be the netminder of the future for so many years. And, a bounce back season in a lot of ways from what he had with Vegas and appears to be the answer in net for the long term. And then you take a look at Aliaksei Protas, whose career has really taken it to the next level this season, putting up 30 goals and 36 assists in 76 games. And if you are an everydayer of the show, I've spoke about it, quite a jump from what we have seen from him historically. Last season, 6 goals. The season before, 4. In his first season in the league, 3 goals. So it's going to be tough to be out your number one at netminder and a guy that has put up 30 goals on the season. And it's all the perils, I guess you could say, of the Capitals not being more active at the trade deadline. And I know it's easy to look at these things in the rear view saying you should have done this now that this happened, hindsight is 2020 and all those kind of things, that it's easy to say you should have done something different. And, what did we know about the Capitals going into the trade deadline was, the chemistry, and this team is so playing so well that we don't really want to tinker with it a whole lot. So the only move that they made was to trade for and acquire Anthony Beauvillier. The hard part about that is that who is going to step up for that 30-goal score? And is Hunter Shepard up for the task of backing up Charlie Lindgren? And even a bigger question, can Charlie take on the responsibility that Logan Thompson took on for a line's share of the season? So not an optimal position. And, just talking about Aliaksei Protas, the real replacements are going to be, we're going to need to see a whole lot from Ryan Leonard. That is the big thing. And Anthony Beauvillier, and ostensibly Ethan Frank, or, if not that, then, I'm talking Hershey. One of the players calls up from there. So, you do get a feeling, like I say, looking in the rearview mirror, that maybe the Capitals should have gone out and acquired a little bit more depth. I know we didn't want to really deplete the cupboard, if you will, but that is the position that the Capitals are in. So let's dive into that in this first segment as the Capitals gear up for the Stanley Cup Playoffs as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And as we look ahead to the postseason, The Capitals are getting tuned up right now for the postseason with big matches coming up here. There are some crucial updates regarding the health of our key players. This season has been monumental for the Caps, especially with Alex Ovechkin hitting that impressive milestone. But we have established that, and I think that we have given it its due. I know it was a big deal, Ovechkin catching that, but again, we need to fine tune and really circle in and drill down on this team and what it's going to mean if, in fact, Aliaksei and Logan Thompson are out for even longer than we anticipated. And it's been a journey, and now all eyes are on the playoff Capitals, and they will host either the first or second wild card team in the Eastern Conference first round, and will have home ice advantage through at least 2 rounds of the playoffs. So that's a good thing. Home ice advantage, playing in your barn, if you will, in front of your fans. That is always advantageous. Now, however, we're facing a bit of cloud over our heads with injury concerns surrounding star goaltender Logan Thompson and forward Aliaksei Protas. Now, where it gets a little bit interesting is when I talk about Logan Thompson, as he played so lights out for the Capitals all season long. And even before the injury, there was some shaky play there. So, I've already heard some people from the Vegas Golden Knights saying, yeah, that we kind of knew the bottom was going to fall out at some point, and I'm not ready to jump in those waters yet. But my concern level with him, even when he is playing, is a bit questionable as far as what he's been able to do. So we take a look at his struggles in March. Thompson's performance dipped significantly since the beginning of March, despite posting a 6-3-1 record. Now, his goals against average reached 3.20, and his save percentage dipped to 876, indicating a decline in his usual high-level play. And it's the things that are concerning is falling below expectations. His performance metrics, including goals saved above expected, showed a decline, indicating he was not performing at his expected level. And, there were some people when we found out that the Capitals did ink him to that extension, that he will be the netminder for the long term for the Capitals. That's a lot of term for a netminder and a lot of money that we know historically that goaltenders' contracts don't necessarily age that well. You saw the big contract that Shesterkin got with the Rangers and how he has struggled at points and that kind of thing. But the Capitals are all in on Logan Thompson, and I don't want to take a look at his somewhat recent decline and let that overshadow his overall body of work. But to say that, that I'm concerned, I think would be a fair statement here. Now, before his upper body injury in the game against Carolina, Logan Thompson has been struggling with the 3.20 goals against, and his stats have fallen below 30 goals saved above expected. So that is the good thing that the Capitals went out and extended Charlie Lindgren. He's kind of reliving that role that he played last year. Different reasons, that kind of thing. I guess you could say, and as far as Logan Thompson is concerned, he's injured, and he has been playing below what is expected. And last season it wasn't necessarily that Darcy was injured; he was just playing lower than expectation. So, in a certain regard, do you think Charlie Lindgren kind of knew that? Hey, I know Logan Thompson's good, but I've been to this movie before, and I know what my role is supposed to be on the Capitals last year. But I know things change. They ebb and flow as netminders. And it's interesting that Chucky Lindgren, the outlaw, is going to, potentially have to take on a bigger role. We've seen what he did last year. I mean, make no mistake about it. The Capitals made it to the playoffs in large part because of the strong play of Chucky Sideburns. So we're hoping that he can, dig deep. If in fact, when Logan Thompson does return, whenever that might be, that Charlie Lindgren and Hunter Shepard can be the guys to really take the reins, because this is the season to push all your chips in. We hope that those netminders are ready for the task at hand. Now, talking about it here, both players are currently listed as questionable for game one. And this has changed some, because some people had said initially that they thought that Logan Thompson was going to be ready to go for Thursday night's game. And, crazier things have happened. We might hear tomorrow from Spencer Carbery that he is, but it's doubtful. Which raises some eyebrows amongst fans. Head coach Spencer Carbery has shared that it's all early. On his official update, he said, quote, "We'll see next week. I think both are progressing. We'll see how it looks next week, but too early to talk about 2 weeks from now or 10 days or whenever we start," unquote. So the initial projections that he was going to potentially be good Thursday evening against the Hurricanes have been dashed, unless they're trying to pad it a little bit to kind of brace us for impact. But I would not expect to see Logan Thompson between the pipes, despite the initial reports that we heard. But that's what I'm talking about. It's next man up. It's Charlie Lindgren. It's Hunter Shepard. Let's get hyped for these guys, because the one strong suit of the Capitals is what they have in net. And I have a lot of faith in Hunter Shepard if he's called upon. I have a lot of faith in Clay Stevenson if called upon. The Capitals have depth in spades as far as the net minding department is concerned. Now, hope for the opening series. While things might not look entirely rosy right now, there's still hope, since neither player has been ruled out for the opening series. If they can get back to around 80% health, their return could be pivotal for our championship aspirations. And I've talked ad nauseum here about Logan Thompson, but like I said, Aliaksei Protas, career year. He's finally has that confidence, and he kind of understands his role, I think, a little bit, because you take a look at it to start this season. His initial projections was that he was going to be on the third line, but again, defying expectations. We've seen him play on the first and second line. Big frame, can post up in front of the net for deflections, second opportunities, and a great skater and a great shot in his own right. So we will definitely be missing the services of Aliaksei. As we approach the playoffs, we'll keep a close eye on these updates surrounding Thompson and Protas. So, of course, keep it locked to Locked On Capitals, as I will have you guys covered. Subscribe on YouTube. I'm quite often putting up shorts about this and that, news surrounding the Capitals. But a lot of questions and a little bit of concern on my part. I know that the Capitals have played well. They played rather well in the absence of their captain, Alex Ovechkin. So you think that this team is going to be able to dig deep. You hear about the chemistry and the strong bond. We're hoping that bond is like super glue, and it can really help take this team to the next level. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about some changes as far as line combinations and those kind of things that we saw at practice. What's the latest with the team? I'll discuss straight ahead.
Do you have trouble sleeping? If so, you're not alone. That used to be me, lacking rest, tossing and turning. I was late for meetings. I never felt like myself. That's until I found Bare Mattress. Bare Mattress and their sleep recovery technology helped me fall asleep faster, as well as enjoy deeper sleeps. I felt like myself again, and you can too. Bare Mattress knows that every sleeper is different. That's why they have their sleep quiz on their website that finds you your perfect match. As a side sleeper, I matched with the Elite Hybrid Mattress, and I've been telling everyone in my life they have to try Bare Mattress risk-free. You can sleep on your Bare Mattress up to 120 nights, and if you're not getting the best sleep of your life, you can get it refunded. They'll pick it up with absolutely no hassle. So go to bearmattress.com and use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. So it is back to business for the Capitals. Again, it was the thing that surrounded this team, so much buzz and, just expectation. And when is it going to happen? At a moment's notice, you got to be ready to go. Alex Ovechkin catching and passing Wayne Gretzky. It was a tough thing for the players. It's tough for the guys that cover the team, as you kind of had to be ready to go the moment that it happened. You didn't know when it was going to happen. You had a rough idea, but now the Capitals can get back to business. Ovechkin has done the big thing. He caught and passed Gretzky. Let's get back to winning games. And winning games is something that the Capitals have struggled with a bit here as of late. You want to take a look here. Most recently, it's a rematch, as we know, against the Hurricanes Thursday evening, and that is going to test what this team is made of. Listen, the Capitals had their butts handed it to them in the last game. They worked this team over very well. The Hurricanes, that is, that the Capitals need to have the answer. And my level of concern, if they don't win, Thursday evening is going to even be that much higher, because those are the kind of teams that you're going to have to play in the playoffs. And kind of unforgivable. You take a look at the Capitals falling to the Islanders. They win against the Blackhawks. Like I say, fell to the Hurricanes. They won against the Bruins, lost to the Sabres, the Wild, the Jets, those kind of things that there is a decent level of concern for me surrounding this team and how they're going to weather the storm. There's the thing that you need to factor in is that, your team can play good through the season, but these teams that make it to the playoffs, they have another gear, and the Capitals have that as well. And again, kind of like when I was talking about Logan Thompson, I don't want to generalize the team and how they played here as late without overlooking the complete body of work, but they have struggled as of late. You take a look at it, they picking up a win over the Blackhawks. Had they lost that one, that would be tough. Again, to circle back, the Islanders, they really needed to win that game. So there have been changes. Of course, Spencer Carbery is always tinkering, trying to get the most out of his team. You saw that even after the first loss of the first game of the season, they lost, and already he was ready to mix things up. So just par for the course for Spencer Carbery. He is making some adjustments to the lineup as the Caps prepare for the upcoming showdown against the Canes. Now, it's a notable shakeup. Taylor Radish has been elevated to the top line, taking Ryan Leonard's spot, who is now moving to the third line. Again, this is just all notes from practice. This can change. Don't write this in stone. Write it in pencil. These are some of the things that we saw. Now, Anthony Beauvillier continues to hold his place, while Ethan Frank will be a scratch. On the defensive side, Dylan McElrath and Alex Alexiev will also be sitting out. No real surprise there. So what did we notice? First line, Alex Ovechkin, Dylan Strome, Taylor Radish. Second line, Connor McMichael, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Tom Wilson. Third line, Andrew Mangiapane, Lars Eller, Ryan Leonard. Fourth line, Brandon Duhaime, Nick Dowd, and Anthony Beauvillier. So interesting. A lot of faith put into Taylor Radish, at least what we know right now is he was the odd man out when Ryan Leonard joined the team, that he has got quite a promotion. And, like I talked about on here, it was all positive vibes and, touchy feely. Doesn't this feel good? Ryan Leonard is finally here, and I don't have to think about too much. I just want to go out there and have fun. Okay, those days are behind you. Go out there and have fun, but we need to see production. We saw all the goals that you put up for Boston College. Let's put that to use. And to be clear here, Ryan Leonard has been impressive. I'm not trying to undercut or, say that he hasn't lived up to expectation. But with that said, you're playing on the big team. You're wearing the big boy pants. Go out there and score some goals. Defensive pairing, Sandin Carlson. Second pairing, Chikrin, Van Riemsdyk. Third pairing, Faravari, Matt Roy. And of course, Chucky is expected to be between the pipes in this game. But, like I'm talking about, we know that the Capitals are going to make it to the playoffs. We know that for sure. And we want to win these games. But at some point, I think it would be worthwhile to get a good look with Hunter Shepard between the pipes if the feeling is that Logan Thompson is going to be out for longer than we think. So some changes to the lineup, not a tremendous amount, but, like I say, Taylor Radish getting promoted to the top line, right wing, that's quite a promotion. And, I like that Connor McMichael And Pierre-Luc Dubois and Tom Wilson are playing together on that dynamic second line. And I think that oftentimes Pierre-Luc Dubois does not get the credit that he deserves, that he has had a bounce back season from last year when he was playing with the Kings. But he has been instrumental, in my opinion, for Connor McMichael taking his career to the next level. I'm not trying to say that Connor McMichael would not have been as good, but I'm here to say that Pierre-Luc Dubois has had a pivotal role in Connor McMichael's development this season. As far as the fourth line is concerned, Brandon Duhaime, Nick Dowd, Anthony Beauvillier, I like that. We know Nick Dowd's during the drink, kind of the quarterback of that fourth line there. That I think, the lineup, considering who is in the mix, who is healthy, I would sign off on that. That looks pretty good. I mean, I guess you could argue about who should be that top line right wing, but, I don't think it's a glaring deficiency, shall we say. And like I say, it is a fluid situation and things could change here. But a special thing that happened today is the Capitals received an incredible boost from the community with 895 students from Arlington County Public Schools attending practice to celebrate Alex Ovechkin's amazing achievement of surpassing Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. And, that victory lap, I mean, it's good. The one thing I'm going to say about Ovechkin, as he has been very gracious, very humble through all this process, that, the greatest moment in his life, he has said, and doing all the big media hits. He was on Good Morning America. He's doing this great thing in front of the kids here as well, that, just a class act is what Alex Ovechkin is. So, you take a look at it. It's good that Alex Ovechkin is getting this in and just taking his time to circle and thank everyone. But like I say, it is back to business for this team that has struggled as of late, because, taking a peek at the schedule here, we know that it is going to be the Carolina Hurricanes on deck Thursday evening. And then they have two games against the Blue Jackets on Saturday and Sunday. And, earlier in the year, you might have thought to yourself, that's going to be a slam dunk, because the Columbus Blue Jackets are horrible. They're not the best team, but they have shown improvement over last year, shall we say. And it's going to be a test for this team. And as we finish things up here, you take a look at it Tuesday, April 15th against the Islanders. That's another rematch. That is another one that I think the Capitals really need to win. And then on Thursday, April 17th against the Penguins, against their nemesis. These are, of course, not must-win games because they have things buttoned up, but just to kind of assess the team, they need to win these games. And specifically the Hurricanes and how they just really took control over the Capitals. We need to see this team playing cohesively. And I want to go into the playoffs feeling like this team is ready for the task at hand, because right now, I'm not feeling super confident. I'm going to be honest with you, that this team has struggled against teams that, they should have beaten. And, you take a look at the probabilities and the possibilities of some of the teams that the Capitals might face. It was the Montreal Canadiens. One of the last times I checked is one of the possible teams that they could play. And, you take a look at the Canadiens. That is a young team that is not going to be an easy out either. So the Capitals really need to kind of batten down the hatches. They need to take this engine in for a tune-up and get ready for a long road trip, because that is what I want from this team, is a long road trip. If they don't win the Stanley Cup, I want them to make it to the Stanley Cup final, but I don't want to, lower the bar. I would really like this team to get another cup while Alex Ovechkin is on the roster. And we don't know what next season holds. We don't know what players are going to be back, and this and that and the other thing. This is the year to make the most of the opportunities and kind of just defy what everyone thought this team was going to be this year. Stanley Cup contenders. All right, so coming up here after the break, it is the season of Alex Ovechkin. As he takes a look at the back nine of his hockey career, he has a season and a little bit of change left. He's making the most of his opportunities, and he's up for another award. He's nominated for another award. What is that award? I'll discuss straight ahead. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. Now, personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to snack. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. So in the final segment here, we're talking about Alex Ovechkin. And the big thing that us as Capitals fans and Alex Ovechkin and the team and everyone concerned was, of course, catching and passing Gretzky, but he has been knocking down other milestones, and a little bit of acknowledgement here as he is nominated for yet another award. So let's talk about that in this final segment, as the Capitals have nominated none other than Alex Ovechkin for the 2025 Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy. Now, if you are not familiar or aware of what that is, this award is given each year to a player who truly exemplifies perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to the game of hockey. So that is not an award that you just hand out to any player. And if there is a player that is fitting of being worthy of such an award of this nature, it is Alex Ovechkin, as he has been an ambassador for hockey, not only in DC, but on the world stage, and kind of put the spotlight on the NHL, here as of late, and just his entire body of work playing with the Capitals. And, like I've talked about on the show, that, you take a look at the NHL of the major sports. Generally speaking, hockey is one of, if not the lowest, as far as ratings are concerned. I'm talking NBA, MLB, these kind of things. That I think that what he has done here as of late has been vitally important to get people re-energized and talking about hockey. Because, I'm going to be honest with you, there's been a lot of people in my day-to-day life at my job. Some of them know I do a podcast, some don't. Sometimes I just don't want to talk about it. I don't need to. And for some of those people, they'll come up and say, hey, have you seen what Alex Ovechkin has done? And that there's people that aren't even, typically hockey fans that are really into what's going on with Alex Ovechkin. So I think what he has done has been important, being a great ambassador, and his dedication to the sport. That, he loves his Capitals team. He has played here since he was drafted in 2004, his first game in 2005. And, you listen, he could have done other things. He could have jumped around from team to team to team, trying to sign the biggest contract with whatever team. But he has been truly a great ambassador for the sport. He has great sportsmanship. When I'm talking about, with Marc-Andre Fleury, even though they're bitter rivals, he called him back out on the ice because he knew that was going to be the last time he faced Marc-Andre Fleury, or I guess they didn't face each other, but the last time that he was playing against a team that he was on. So again, if there is a player that is definitely worthy of that, I think it would be Alex Ovechkin. Now, this announcement was made earlier today by Stephen Wino from the Associated Press, and it's a significant moment for the captain. Like I talked about in yesterday's show, all the milestones and the ones that he's closing in on, that when you take a look at the full body of work of Alex Ovechkin, it's quite stunning. Of course, the Gretzky thing is, the top trophy on his mantle, but there's a lot of smaller trophies underneath, and it's quite stunning. Now, talk about Ovi's performance this season. The 24-25 season started off strong for him with an incredible 15 goals in his first 18 games. But as we know, A season can be full of surprises. In November, he broke his leg, which could have sidelined many players for much longer, but not our captain, Ovechkin. Even at the ripe old age of 39 years old, he only missed 16 games and made a remarkable return shortly thereafter. And I remember doing this show and talking to you guys about it like, this isn't good. He was chasing down Gretzky. He had scored a hat trick and 2 goals. And now this happened against Jack McBain and the Utah Hockey Club. That was definitely not in my movie script for Alex Ovechkin. But as it turns out, it was the perfect thing that spoke of his perseverance, his tenacity, his ability to say, I'm not going to let this slow me down. I'm still going to get done what I want to get done. So in a lot of ways, I of course wish that Ovechkin never got injured, but the fact that he did and he hit the ground running, it was shortly after the injury that he was skating on that fractured leg, that you knew that this was almost like a Rocky movie, that you can't keep this guy down. He is going to find a way to get it done. You take a look at his big accomplishment. Despite missing 20% of the Capital schedule, Ovechkin scored 42 goals, which is phenomenal for a guy, and I hate to say 39 years old. People hate when you do that. It's like when you tell an actress she's good looking for her age. They don't like that. How about you just say she's a good actress? Why can't we just say Alex Ovechkin is a great hockey player instead of saying he's a great hockey player for a 39-year-old? But he even surpassed Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record as we sit here in the 20th NHL season. Ovi ranks 4th in the league in goals, with every other player above him having played at least 10 more games. And, you take a look at it. Oftentimes people will say, hey, he could have probably got this done earlier had he not got injured. And of course, that's a possibility that could have happened. But, you've almost might have seen him slow down as well. But when you take a look at it, it's also worth noting that Ovechkin's impressive collections of awards throughout his career. He's racked up Calder Memorial Trophies, Art Ross Trophy, and 9 Rocket Richard trophies, among others, that he is definitely a player for the ages, a generational player. And, much in the same way that Alex Ovechkin said that he's not going to fully appreciate what he has done here, catching and passing Gretzky for some time. The sad part is, for me, is that I don't think we'll fully appreciate what kind of player the Capitals had and have in Alex Ovechkin until much after he retires. You know what I mean? It's just, we kind of take it for granted that he goes out there, he does Alex Ovechkin things, and he's just the captain of our team. But someday, not too long from now, he will be retired. And looking back on this, it's going to be a little bit surreal. So let's just do this. Let's live in the moment right here, right now, and soak it all in, that this team is playing well despite a rough patch, shall we say, and it's being led by a truly great captain, a guy that has broken all sorts of records, and he's here right now. We're living in the here right now, and it's really an exciting time to be a Capitals fan at the end of the day. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. When you're done here, head on over to Locked On NHL, as they have you covered 5 days a week, covering all of the NHL, available wherever you find your podcasts and on YouTube. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.